Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be giving you guys my outlook for the Washington Commanders defensive line group in 2022. We'll be going player by player, talking about some of their expectations, if they will make the roster, and much more, and if this group is a top 3 D-line in the NFL. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Now let's get right into it. And just a quick reminder, this video is pre-recorded. I'm recording this on July 11th. It'll be out sometime in the next couple weeks because I'm on vacation. But now let's get right into it. So before we go player by player, let's go over the defensive linemen on this roster. So we know the main guys: Chase Young, Dline Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, and the next guy up in the interior defensive line will be Phidarian Mathis. And then you got guys like Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, David Bada, Daniel Wise, Shaka Toney, F.A. Obada, William Bradley King, Boonmi Rotimi, and then Tyler Clark and Justin Hamilton. Some of those guys are above others on the depth chart. It's just not like, this isn't a correct depth chart. It's just guys on the roster, because like F.A. Obada isn't behind Tyler Clark, all these guys right here. He's probably the first edge off the bench. So let's go, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's start off with the main guy, Chase Young. This is his third year, which is crazy thinking about it. He's coming off that ACL injury. We're gonna see if he's able to play week 1. I don't know. I'm still optimistic about how quickly he comes back, but then again, it will, even if he's back week 1, he's not going to be fully back until week 6, week 8, or later. It's going to take him some time to kind of, get back into things coming off that ACL injury. So I think fans should be patient with him over his first 6 to 9, 10 games. And then after that, that second half of the season, that's when you want him to really, dominate. That's what you want him to do, and I think he will do that. He's got that mindset. He's got this, he's got the athletic traits. Now it's up to him and the coaching staff to put that all together. But we know he was disappointing last year. When he was healthy, had 1.5 sacks. Should have been more. But if you remember that Falcons game where he got that BS roughing the passer, and then there was some other penalties that wiped sacks off the board. But still, nonetheless, even if he has 3.5 or whatever, that's still disappointing. Over 9 games, had 2 forced fumbles as well. He needs to be better. He was good in the run game, but he needs to create more pressures, because there was times last year where he wasn't necessarily getting sacks, but like you could still see his impact on the game in his rookie year. Wasn't getting a ton of sacks, but still was getting pressure and stuff. But last year there was games where he just wasn't doing much at all. So he needs to improve this year, and I think he will. That time off, I think, will allow him to play a little bit more disciplined and, maybe develop some more pass rush moves. So we're going to go quickly on these players because it's like 11, 12 players that we're going to talk about. So next guy, interior guys, Jonathan Allen. I absolutely love Jonathan Allen, one of my favorite players on the team. Sorry for not loading. Last year had really a breakout year in terms of sacks. 9 sacks, and is one of the best interior defensive linemen in all of football. I guess not necessarily a breakout year because he had 8 sacks in 2018, but still had a very, very good year. Made the Pro Bowl, and yeah, is one of the leaders on this team, a captain, and he's a great guy for the culture. And I expect him to have a similar year to what he had last year, anywhere from like 7.5 to 10, 11 sacks. It's hard to do that as an interior guy, so we'll see how he does this year again. But yeah, high expectations for him this year, and I think he'll continue to meet expectations or even exceed them. Excited to see what he can do this year. Second year into that big contract extension. Next player, Dline Payne in the inside guy. He's playing in his contract year, and I think Dline Payne could have a monster season just because a lot of guys are motivated by the contract year. A lot of guys play better in their final season because, hey, they want to show that team or other teams that, how good of a player they are, and they want to get that money, and I don't blame them, and that just should be their mindset every year. But, whatever. I think Dline Payne's going to have a good year, 25, like, it's crazy. This is his 5th year, I guess, or wait, yeah, this is his 5th year, and he's still only 25 years old, 6'3", 320 pounds. It's been solid for Washington. Hasn't been amazing, but he's been solid over the last 4 years. Really, really good in the run game, and solid pass rusher, 4.5 sacks this past year. Really wish he could, get a little bit more than that. Like, if he could get like in that 5.5 to 7 range. I know that's asking a lot, but it would be nice if he could add more as a pass rusher, because even not just the sack totals, but get some more pressures as well. I think that's something he could work on. But in terms of his run defense, it's up there with the best in the NFL. The pass rush needs to work on a little bit, but he's still a great player, and I think this could be his best year. Like I would say, if I had like stat predictions, I'm going to say 6 sacks for him this year, and maybe a couple forced fumbles as well. I think he's going to have a really good year, and he'll get paid this offseason. Probably not by Washington, but still has a chance, and maybe they franchise tag him. Next guy is Montez Sweat, another guy that, he needs a big year. He needs to do better than he had last year, and of course, had a bunch of things going on last year. Played 10 games, had a broken jaw, which sucks. Missed at least a game, I believe, because of the virus. And then also, he had his brother unfortunately passed away, which just sucks, and he missed the last couple games because of that. So it's just really unfortunate, his whole year last year. But like, I feel like even in the 10 games, he was not bad. 5 sacks in those 10 games, so that's averaging half a sack a game. So if like you put that over 17 games, like that's 8 sacks. That is a little over 8 sacks, and he also had 3 forced fumbles. So on pace for about 5 forced fumbles as well if he played 17 games. So not as bad as people think he played last year. And this is a big year for him though. Going into his 4th season with Washington, he's yet to put up a double-digit sack season, although his 2020 season was really good, 9 sacks, and had a couple of times where he kind of got cheated out of a sack. Like the last game, should have had a sack, but Cole Holcomb got called for pass interference or something. I can't remember what it was, but it didn't really have an effect on the play. And yeah, it sucked because he would have gotten that 10th sack. But I'm hoping he does it. Does that this year. Chase Young might miss some games or will be, a little bit slow coming off that injury the first few weeks. So I think Montez Sweat will probably lead this team in sacks this year, and I think he'll get to double-digit sacks. So those are the starters, obviously all making the roster. We know what they're going to do for the most part. And now going on to the kind of bigger question marks, Phidarian Mathis, not really that much of a question mark, but he's kind of the backup tackle, but he's going to be playing a lot. Like you look at Matt Ioannidis last year, he played around 60% of the snaps, and I see Phidarian Mathis in that kind of same range, anywhere from 50 to 65. Really depends on how he's playing. Maybe Jonathan Allen and Dline Payne play a little bit more than they did last year. And then, Phidarian Mathis will take Ioannidis' snaps and maybe some of Settle's snaps as well. But yeah, draft him in the 2nd round. Still don't love the pick, but, it is what it is at this point. 6'4", 24 years old, 312 pounds. Coming out of Alabama, he's a really solid, run stuffer, really good at taking on those double team blocks, and I think he's going to really help out the Commanders. I don't know if he's going to be a star, but I think he's going to be a really solid player for a long time, and allows them, okay, if Dline Payne leaves, they have, a replacement for him in Phidarian Mathis. So, I'm not expecting a ton of sacks, although he did have like 9 sacks, I believe, his last year at Alabama, but the first few years didn't really have any at all. But, maybe a couple sacks this year, but, more so, expecting him to, help out the linebackers behind him, taking on those double teams, helping out in the run game. But yeah, I think he's going to have, definitely help out for sure. So those are kind of 5 guys that are going to play a ton. And then you got Efe Obada. I think he will be making the team. And the question is he going to be a D end or is he going to be a, D tackle. He's played both in his career, mostly as a DN, but he's played both. And I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see. This past year, played in 10 games, had 3.5 sacks, no forced fumbles, and then in 2020 had 5.5 sacks in 16 games. So like really both years he was close to, basically on pace for 6 sacks the last couple years. And he's obviously played for Carolina under Ron Rivera, and played for the Bills, who, Ron Rivera loves taking players from the Bills. So F.E. Obata, I think, is going to surprise some people. I think he will be really, really solid for them. And if Chase Young's out, he's probably your starting edge rusher unless they want him in the inside. But I think he's going to be really solid for them. And, anywhere from like 3.5 to, I don't know. That's saying a lot for a guy that might not start. But I think he'll get in that range, like 2 to 5 sacks. And if Chase Young misses a lot of, season, which I don't think so, but could happen, then I could see him getting like 5 to 6, 7 sacks. So next guy on this list is James Smith-Williams. This is his 3rd year for the Commanders. He's a 7th round pick in 2020, and is a versatile guy. Can play inside, can play outside. He will be very likely making the team because of that versatility. They don't really have great depth on the interior of the defensive line after they got Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Fedarian Mathis, but they need one more guy. So I would assume there'll be some plays where James Smith-Williams will be inside, and was okay last year. 2.5 sacks in 14 games is a okay rotational guy. You could definitely do better though, but he's a good third-ish, third option at the edge rush position and sometimes interior. So I think he's going to make this team for sure. All these guys I said before him as well, I think they will make the team. And then after that, that's when it kind of gets, iffy. You got Casey Tuhill, who's been on the team for the last couple years. And I don't know. He definitely could make the team. He has a little bit of an advantage because he's been with them for the last couple years. They seem to like him. And I don't know, kind of 50-50 for me if he makes the roster. He's just a guy. He's just a guy. I like James Smith-Williams a little bit more because of that versatility. He's gotten more sack production as well. So who knows? I mean, you guys can comment down below if you guys think he's going to make it. I'm not so sure. I would take some other guys over him just because of more potential or versatility. Like I would take James Smith-Williams over him. I would take Shaka Toney, who I'm talking about next, over him because he's younger, got some more potential. Shaka Toney, this is his 2nd year, 24 years old, coming out of Penn State, about 6'2", 238 pounds. Last year, didn't do too much, but had a couple games where he played, and he played pretty well. Had that really solid game against the Seahawks. Only played like 5 defensive snaps, but like he played really well in those 5 snaps. Had like a sack and had like a QB hit as well besides that. So played really well. And, played on special teams as well. So I think, did that in his 1st year. So I think he has a shot of making the roster in his 2nd year. But he's got to have a good offseason for them. He's got to have a good offseason for, during, minicamp, OTAs. We don't know how he's been. They haven't really said anything. But then training camp and preseason, he has to show out. If he does that, I think he makes the roster as a special teams guy who, could be a guy with some upside on the edge. And, they sometimes talk, Jack Del Rio, when they drafted him, talked about playing him outside linebacker at that Sam position. Next guy, Daniel Wise. He's actually been pretty solid for them. Last year had some nice plays. D tackle. Let's see. I'm trying to, so I guess last year was his 1st year in the NFL. Maybe he was on some practice squads before, played in 6 games, D tackle, but can line up on the outside as well. I think he has a solid shot to make the team. It seems like the coaches really like him. He played well in the preseason, if I can remember correctly. So he's a guy definitely could make the team because he also can play on the inside. They love the versatility, and he can do that. So other guys that I didn't talk about, you got Bunmi Rotimi. He's another good story. I doubt he makes the team, but he has a shot. Don't think Justin Hamilton or Tyler Clark really will make it. Don't know much about them, but I mean, I think that all the other guys have the upper hand against those guys because the other guys have been here before, and a lot of them have gotten production for the Commanders. So overall, I think this is a solid room. Do I think it's the best D-line in football? No. Top 3, that's tough. I don't think so. They've got to prove it for me. And if they're all healthy and you add in Fedarian Mathis, I think this is a really, really good unit. Talent-wise, I think they're top 3, top 5. But putting it on, the field, that's a different question, but I think they should be top 5, top 10 this year with the talent that they have. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace.